I'm a big believer that you can't have crazy predictions in college football. Case in point, if we were to go back to 2014 and you were to ask someone, predict the next 10 years, what will they look like? Anyone who accurately called it would have been checked into an insane asylum. And likewise, anyone who's asking me, hey, what's the next 10 years going to look like? Josh, what will the sport look like in 2034? Nobody knows. Don't believe any of it. Don't believe what I say, or at least don't bank on it. Don't believe what the high-level executives say and the high-level mustaches and the suits. None of them know. Even the people who are in decision-making positions don't know. And the reason is because everybody who's in a position to make decisions is not actually a qualified decision maker. They're all looking around, waiting for someone else to make the move. And so I was thinking to myself while I was driving into the office earlier today, what would it have been like if in 2014, I just got a glimpse to 2024? Just pause and think about that for a second. You are in 2014. It's the first year, I think, Jesse. Yeah, the first year of the college football playoff. 2014, that's the year Ohio State won it all. Urban Meyer wins the national title there. And, we don't even know about bowl opt-outs yet. We don't know about NIL. We don't know about the portal. We don't know about any of this yet. Imagine being that one lucky or unlucky person who is plucked from the sporting society and is given a brief glimpse to 2024, and then imagine they drop you right back in 2014, and it's up to you to tell everyone. No one would believe you. Just like if someone were to be able to somehow predict the next 10 years, no one would believe you. There's going to be some wild stuff happen in the next 10 years in the sport that even I would probably listen to from the prophet from 2034, and I'd say, get out of here, man. What are you talking about? So you could be 15 years old right now. This is the wild part. You could be 15 years old right now, and you have coherent memory of most of this stuff. 5, 6 years old, if you grew up in like a diehard college football house, in Big Ten, I don't care if it was the Pacific Northwest or the South, if they immersed you in college football, you remember from 5 and 6 years old, like you can remember all this stuff. So I've got folks not even in college yet in this audience. We got a huge high school and college-aged audience. Some of you not even in college. You've been around for all this stuff. And my point is, college football's undergone more change in the past decade than it had the previous 50 or so years combined before that. And we're talking about some heavy-hitting stuff there. You're talking about going back to like literal integration of the sport, fundamental changes. I'm counting all that. And even with that being baked in, I'm saying this past few years, we've seen the sport quite literally taken and turned upside down. Just give you a little stat here. It's a paper popper. I think it's worth it. 41 of 69 Power 5 teams last year had a quarterback that transferred as their starter. I want you to imagine 2014 you going to 2023, seeing that, and then going back and telling folks, hey, I just came back from the future. I don't know what happened, but 41 of 69 Power 5 starting quarterbacks were transfers. I have no clue. Well, then you say, I'll be right back. Let me go see if I can get some information on it. I'll be back, guys. And you go back to the future, and they tell you about the transfer portal. And then they don't even give you time to react. They go, shh. Also, we have a thing called NIL. And the NCAA just kind of haphazardly said go on both of those things in the span of like a year or two's time. Not that they had any choice in the matter, we came to find out, but they just kind of dropped it in everyone's lap, and then the calendar went to you-know-where, and so, like, all of a sudden, bowl season got kneecapped. I'll get to that in a second, but just say those things. Those two things, the transfer portal, basic unrestricted movement of talent across the country, and NIL, which was pay-for-play to a 90th% degree, that just kind of all came to be. And then the byproduct was rosters massively overturning year over year. You got Deion Sanders. First off, just Deion Sanders as the head coach at Colorado. That alone would have been a big-time headline. But they brought in 73 new guys last cycle. Jesse, I think the number was in the low 70s. I think the number was 73. Can you please just go from 2023 back to 2014 and tell somebody, yeah, Colorado, first off, Deion's there, not as a fan or a spectator, like he's the coach. He's going to bring in 73 new guys in the cycle. In 2014, as recently as then, they would have drug tested you. That's impossible. You can't do that. Well, you couldn't do it, but you can do it now. Bowl season's been kneecapped because of the expanded playoff. Now, by 2014, we had the playoff. That was year one of the playoff. I'm going to stop short of saying nobody could have known what was coming because some of us kind of had it in our worst fears already, what was to come. And that was the total and complete kneecapping of bowl season. It used to be as recently as 2014 that the phrase bowl opt-out didn't really mean anything. Like, no one had heard of that, and certainly no one used phrases like meaningless bowl game. And now, and this is a very unofficial number because there's no way to really track this, but we think on average about 8 players per team are opting out of bowl games now. That's either due to injury or draft considerations or whatever. 8 per team. 8 per team. Imagine telling someone that. Because this is not like back in colorless TV era. This is 2014, even as recently as then. Man, you wake up on New Year's Day, they're playing the Outback Bowl or the Capital One Bowl or the Gator Bowl. It's just all the bowl games in Florida, basically. Really big deals. Really, you went 9-3 during the season. You're going to an SEC versus Big Ten bowl game. Huge deal. Felt like for some reason Wisconsin and Iowa played in those things every year. Huge deal. And nowadays they get called whatever they get called by whomsoever calls them that. Could you have known that was coming? Would you have expected bowl season to be rendered that relatively meaningless? It ain't meaningless to some of us, but even some of us who still love bowl season look at it and say, this is a shell of what it once was. What was the cause of that? And could you have seen it coming? Also, the whole realignment part of this, we haven't even gotten to yet. If you're in 2014, we are not too removed from headlines every other day. Chip Brown, who was, I think, over at Orange Bloods at the time, now he's at Horns 24/7. Chip Brown every other day is like scrolling across the ESPN bottom line ticker, reporting about the latest with Texas and OU and their potential move to the Pac-12. Because at the time, it looked almost imminent that Texas and OU were going to go to the Pac-12. So we're not that far removed from that whole period in 2014. Imagine looking 10 years down the road, Texas and OU are going to the SEC. The Pac-12's not even here. Hey, I just came back from 2024. Yeah? How's the Pac-12 doing? I don't know how to tell you this, Jeff. They're not there. What do you mean? It's gone. It's gone. It was there and then it wasn't. It's just gone. Well, that can't be. Conferences don't just disappear. Well, it happened to the Southwest Conference, Jeff. Yeah, but that doesn't happen anymore. This is the modern age. How could a conference as well-positioned and prosperous, how could a conference with so many big brains in the room like the Pac-12 just cease to exist? Maybe the brains aren't as big as you think they are, Jeff. Yeah, so imagine coming back from 2024 and delivering that little bombshell. Pac-12's gone. Well, certainly that means the Big 12's been gone for a long time, right? No, Big 12's still there. Some dude named Brett running the show? I don't know, never heard of him. But they're still there. Some of our schools actually went there. But yeah, Texas and OU, we didn't get them. They went to the SEC. In related news, USC and Oregon are in the Big Ten now, as is Washington and UCLA. And I'm not done. Stanford, ACC. Cal, ACC. We've got multiple teams that used to be in the Pac-12 footprint that can see the Pacific Ocean from their offices who are going to play conference games against teams that can see the Atlantic Ocean from their offices, as it turns out. Multiple conferences, by the way. Yeah. Offense regressed. Did you ever see this coming? Remember 2014 when all the offensive explosion has started to happen? This is like Gus Malzahn at Auburn running the RPO stuff. And I think there was an Iron Bowl where the final was like 55-44. And everyone's looking and saying, oh, even Bama under Saban. Even they're having to sacrifice what they believed in once upon a time. And even they're having to embrace the new offensive revolution in college football. Hey, 2016, college football games had 58 points per game on average. Last year, they had 53.5. So there may have been a revolution at some point, but, buddy, it got extinguished pretty quickly. What happened there? Well, I think what happened maybe is defensive coaches didn't become stupid. Defensive coaches just needed time to look across the ball and say, oh, that's what you guys are going to do now? Okay, let us recruit different caliber players. Let us change our strength and conditioning. Let us change our nutrition. Let us change our critical factors we look for in personnel. Defense is adjusted. I was told it would never happen. I was told that college football was going to be pinball forever. But apparently, those people didn't know what they were talking about. Hey, 2014, you're there, you're playing the college football game. Imagine coming to 2024 and finding out there hasn't been another one since then. You guys are telling me somehow, some way, we're going to go a decade without a college football video game, and when it comes back, it's EA college football. It's not even NCAA. Oh, and while I'm on the subject, wait till I tell you what's happened to the NCAA. It's kind of not there anymore either. Now, unlike the Pac-12, it's still in existence. I can go to the office, I can knock on the door, a receptionist will probably let me in. But if I run afoul of NCAA rules, nothing really happens. In fact, we could run afoul of NCAA laws, and then they try and come after us, and we take them to court. We can cripple them in court, and it's happened. Yet, believe me, in 2014, I know this sounds crazy, but by 2024, those 4 letters mean nothing. It's NCAA. It's just like a punchline. It's an afterthought. And the death knell, revenue sharing. Yes, folks, in 2014, let me tell you what's happening. What's happening is the media rights money's not going down. The TV numbers just keep going up and up. So good news, the sport is growing, quote unquote. And therefore, those media rights deals, they just keep going up and up. The sport, again, growing. You guys aren't going to see any of the money. You're just fans. But don't worry, they're going to tell you it's growing. But it's all going to come crashing down because in 2024, they're going to have to settle some class action lawsuits. And they're going to have to very, very, very stubbornly agree we're going to have to share the revenue with the players. Yes, 2014 was not that long ago. And yet, if I said any of that in 2014, you would have thought I was insane. Which begs the question, what's happening over the next decade? Do you feel like there is some semblance of normalcy that will return to the sport, or do you feel like it will just continue to be chaotic? Because frankly, I don't think anything can continue to be as chaotic as the sport has been. Like, I think it'll kind of be a trend line that regresses back more towards normalcy. Because right now, every year's been like that. No 2 years have looked the same. The sport has churned itself to a 30% or 35% degree, it seems like every year, to where you go in a 2 or 3 year time frame, the whole sport's changed. I don't think that's going to continue to happen. However, I am not so bold as to sit here and tell you, I know where we're going to be in 2034. I have no idea. I don't know where we're going to be in 2025. So your best guess is as good as mine. I'll be happy to listen.